I want to welcome you all. I'm Vivian Hermiz, and I am a founder and principal of Praxis Mindful Living, which is my own private practice for mindfulness coaching. But I'm here in my capacity as the co-founder of KP Mindful Hub, how we refer to it, Kaiser Permanente's Mindful Hub, which it was established in 2018. We like to call ourselves a peer-to-peer collective. We are currently around 40 mindfulness practitioners, first and foremost. We have healthcare providers and other employees of the organization, and we're here to promote mindfulness programs across the organization. And so what I thought the session would be about, it really is meant to inspire everyone at any level within an organization on the basic elements of how to build a mindfulness program. And so I thought I would give it step by step from our origin story to what we offer and that impact we've had. So when I arrived at Kaiser Permanente, I immediately started looking for my tribe. I'd been a coach for a couple of years at that point, and I wanted to find the mindfulness programming that was available at Kaiser. And these were the things that I found. I didn't find an established program. What I did find was that there were actually very few consistent offerings across the organization. They were scattered across the various states and the District of Columbia where Kaiser Permanente does business. And more often than not, these events were in person, localized, and very, very host facilitator dependent. So what that meant that when a person changed job duties or left the organization or just had more responsibilities and they couldn't facilitate, that offering died. And so with that in mind, I started seeking out other champions, knowing that, so anytime I would see anybody present a mindful moment at a meeting or mention mindfulness, I would immediately grab their name, get in touch with them, find out what else are they doing, who else do they know in the organization that's providing this sort of programming. I really had a simple goal of a daily drop-in session. I felt that was sustainable, like a feasible goal to set, but I knew even with that goal, I couldn't do it on a daily basis on my own. I would need some sort of a backup person. And apologies, my voice, it might give out. And so as I go through these, I want you to think about what you think would have been the most challenging piece. Would it be seeking out other champions, developing a goal for the offerings? We also, once I started meeting people, we started evaluating the program needs. What did we want to develop and what did we want to create? And started assessing the existing resources. And that was everything from physical to software. So we were thinking, okay, do we have physical space to meet? How would we have the meetings if they were virtual? What would use? Teams was what we have at the time. How would we build a community? We leverage Viva Engage, or what it used to be called Reammer for that. Distribution list, how would we maintain these things? So really picking up on what were the resources available to us. And then we started to build a core team. And the one thing we were fortunate in terms of finding a core team is at Kaiser Permanente, we have a program called Stretch at KP. And that program actually allows for people to join a project in another business segment so they can learn about it for any sort of duration. And so we thought, let's try and post it on there and see if we get anyone. And we ended up interviewing about 4 people, all of them, as this being the ground level of our experience. You know, we were just starting. So we were thinking like how every single one of them has a beautiful set of skills distinct from the other. So we asked, can we add all 4? And the program manager said, sure, you can. And that's how we started. We were a team of 6. So of these, which one do you think was the hardest for us? Yeah. Any other? Yeah, that was definitely my hardest. And that was by virtue of the fact that everybody's busy. Yes.
Champions work there and then they volunteer pre.
Yes. So all of us do all this work on top of our regular job duties. Yeah.
Now, what model and would be in one or more places?
It was me and my co-founder. We didn't have any support. It was literally a build it and they will come initiative. Yeah. You notice that that's missing because that wasn't part of it. When we started building, this was not part of it. We didn't, and this is why I want to inspire people that a lot of times we think that it needs to come top down. We need to have that initiative, but really, if you have the will and the enthusiasm for it, you can always find a way to leverage it and build something. Okay. So who are we? Now we're a group of 40 at this point. So who are we? We are seasoned practitioners, particularly our facilitators. We vet our facilitators pretty closely that they have quite a bit of experience in the modality that they choose to facilitate in. We're all very service-oriented. And so that, I think, I was thinking about, like, what would be the cause of that? And really, I think it's part of the mission of the company that it attracts people that are service-oriented. It has a very strong mission, Kaiser Permanente does. So we were able to, it kind of comes with the territory of the people that work there. And if you think about what's the first thing you want to do when you start experiencing the fruits of your practice? And so that's the next piece. We were all inspired to share our personal practice. Now, we all are also experiencing a variety of modalities. One of the things as we were contemplating who can provide these sessions was that we didn't want to create any sort of barrier of entry. I recognize I'm trained and certified in various modalities and curricula in mindfulness, but not everybody has the money, not everybody has the time or the energy to be able to commit to an extended program, but we have some deep practitioners. And so how can we leverage their knowledge and wisdom and experience? And so this allowed that fourth bullet allowed us to focus on, allow and whoever wanted to share, as long as they had a depth of practice, to share in that. And by virtue of that, also that openness that we created, we have a diverse background. So whether it cuts across race or gender, level of, seniority or leadership positions, you have individual contributors, you have leadership, all coming together to teach these mindfulness programs. So what's our approach to our organization, how we build ourselves? One of the things that we made very explicit is that we have a flat organizational structure. And if you think about that bullet of what I noted when I first arrived at Kaiser was that it was very host or facilitator dependent. I really felt that this was a very important element to keep as an explicit effort. So there is no leader, or alternatively, you can say we are all the leaders of our community. So we make decisions collaboratively and with consensus. We allow for a lot of creative freedom. Even the people that have experience in particular modalities, I try and encourage them to make it trauma informed and provide a lot of variation and options. That whatever anyone has in mind, we're always willing to try. So we have obviously hits and misses. One of the hits was we just started hosting a retreat. In August, we had our first retreat, on a Saturday, so it was outside of work hours, and people loved that. So we're going to be offering one every quarter. Our next one is coming up in November. A miss was a book club at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday. So people didn't want to do 20 minutes of sitting meditation and read a book together at that hour. So, the encouragement is to experiment as much as possible and give as much freedom to our facilitators to do what they'd like to do and see what lands with our participants. We also give and get support from one another. So whether that means providing a substitute when a person can't make the session that they regularly host, or, they need help marketing their event, or, in every possible way, whether it's just personal encouragement of one another, that's a really important piece, that nobody is doing it on their own and nobody feels like they're by themselves kind of out there, even though, we have this kind of amorphous, flat organizational structure. We are there for each other. And we regularly evaluate our processes to see if it's meeting our needs. So like, for example, Linda recently reinitiated our facilitator. We used to have just a meetup for facilitators. I used to host it in the early days. That kind of fell away. And then Linda was like, I think I really miss those. I miss those meetings for just the facilitators, not just all of the volunteers. We have distinct needs to talk about. And so she started hosting them again, and we brought them back online. So what has been our impact? And I wanted to step back because we're going to talk about the numbers and what we've created. But if you think about what it takes, we all have a personal practice to some degree, and we know the value of mindfulness. But it's a very personal and foundational thing. So most of us, when we come to work, we're coming in, we practice for ourselves. But how often is it that we get to share our personal practice with our coworkers? And so it really allows, we talk about work-life integration and all of that, but it really allows for the integration of the personal with the professional in this circumstance. And I wanted to bring this piece in because it really requires a certain degree, a relatively high degree of physical and psychological safety. And we do this by making sure that it's accessible, open, that we don't have particular people at the top that are making all the decisions or wedging everyone into a particular modality of practice, knowing that there's benefits from every modality that's out there. It also helps us to establish a natural affinity group. So nobody has to go through what I went through when I arrived at Kaiser Permanente. When we have new employees that have a personal practice, we're pretty visible in the organization, even though we don't sit in any particular business segment. Guys, my voice is really good. So it creates for a natural affinity group to arise. We have one facilitator who was moving from the East Coast to the Pacific Northwest, and she was telling her meditation teacher, which is not secular, I'm moving, I'm going to go work at Kaiser Permanente. And I don't know what faith base it is, but she said, I heard that Kaiser Permanente has a mindfulness program, try and check in with them. And sure enough, we were like one of the first parts of the company that she checked in with. And it also creates a certain level of social contagion of inclusive, kind service. So when we're talking about, there's explicit teaching, right? You're presenting a program or presenting a session, a mindfulness session. There's also that implicit teaching that's happening with each other, where in the way we're presenting ourselves in meetings, it's creating a certain level of social contagion. So I've been in meetings where people will say, wait, I recognize your name. It's a really big organization, so you don't always know who you're going to walk into a meeting with. They're like, I recognize your name. Are you part of Mindful Hub? I think I've been 20. Oh, I'm so excited. Every time I walk into a meeting with someone from Mindful Hub, I know it's going to be fun. I know it's going to be innovative, out of the box. So it creates, our reputation precedes us for the most part. So what are our offerings? We offer, from the one daily drop-in session, we offer multiple daily drop-in sessions throughout the work week, about 3 to 4. We also have a dedicated SharePoint site where we have recorded sessions for those people. We are in the healthcare system, and not everybody can make those live drop-in sessions. So we've recorded quite a few of them. And in that SharePoint site, there's a lot of mindfulness. We try and create it like a clearinghouse of all mindfulness activities across the organization and all the tools. So for example, there's various major apps that our workers have access to. We have it there. If there's a learning class that's being offered on the learning platform, we post it there. Tailored meeting requests. So this one, anybody across the business can fill out a form online and request and specify the duration for a person from Mindful Hub can come and present at their meetings. And this is really a unique offering. So sometimes they say, we need you for 5 minutes. We just need you to come and do a practice for 5 minutes in between as we shift from one topic to the next. Okay, we can do that. Come and speak for 15 minutes. Come and tell us about Mindful Hub for an hour and mix it up. So we work with whoever's the requester to tailor it to what their needs are in their meeting. And it's probably one of our most popular offerings. We also partner to promote internal wellness with various segments. So we did find an executive sponsor in the workplace well-being. And so they now sponsor us as well as the equity, inclusion, and diversity. But we have a Kaiser Permanente School of Medicine, so we've partnered with them to teach the medical students about mindful eating. We've worked with an internal leadership institute to promote mindfulness amongst leaders and many others. And so we also have this Viva Engage community. And the Viva Engage community, I don't know if you're familiar with it. Viva Engage is a social media platform for workplace. And so we needed to have, we wanted to create a community and a dialogue with the people and our participants. How are you guys promoting wellness and mindfulness in your lives? Whether it's what are you doing on the weekends to come back to yourself? So the Viva Engage community is also where we announce the daily drop-ins, and people really appreciate it because it automatically goes to their email when we post the announcement. And they're like, oh, I need to show up for the session. We also offer a monthly newsletter that kind of reviews any upcoming events and kind of shares about our facilitators. And of course, the mini retreats. We had to add mini because somebody told me that retreats can't be just half a day. So this is us in numbers, right? Exactly what I was just sharing, but and I have an asterisk on the 2020 because we started offering things in 2018 and we only started tracking in 2020. So take note. If you start a program or have a program, definitely track what your effort. So we've provided about 720 hours of live sessions to over 46,000 participants with over 1,700 mindful sessions. Our Viva Engage community is actually more like 4,150, and I did this just like 3 weeks ago. So it's creeping up. And the community is kind of interesting because we're not the largest community in that social engagement area of Viva Engage, but we are consistently in the top 10 that has the most engagement. So we're at 4,000, but we're always in the top 10 of most engaged communities. Yeah, we have about 22,000 visits to the on-demand resources, over 60,000 unique SharePoint site visits, and that's our clearinghouse for all the information, as well as the calendar. And then over that tailored meeting requests, we've already processed, I think now we're up to like 300 tailored meeting requests. So it's our way of introducing it in little bite-sized pieces to different areas of the business that maybe would not have even thought about engaging an external consultant or any sort of mindfulness program. So these are some of the titles of our live drop-in sessions. So we have a mix of stillness programs, stillness with movement offerings. We also have things like meditation and poetry. So the facilitator who was facilitating the book club revamped it, picked a different time of day and a different day altogether, and said, I'm going to read poetry and do meditation. Various practices in cultivating positive emotions and journaling. So we try and offer a wide range. And whenever we ask our participants, how can we do better? Their answer is always, we want more sessions. And right now we're at 3 to 4 sessions a day. And like, how can we improve? Add more sessions. Okay. So when we also ask our participants, why did you participate in this session? And you can see the breakdown that the vast majority are there to reduce stress and improve their own health. I felt these are pretty obvious, like what we would expect as responses. And then we also ask, but how did this session help you? And they say mental wellness being the furthest, the most common answer, that it provides for work-life balance, and that it increases attentional focus, and they feel more connected. This is some of the feedback that we get. There's a part of our survey where we ask, free form, tell us about your experience. And I'll just let you read those. The vast majority, they tell us they love the fact that it's sanctioned by work. They feel that this is their opportunity to be a part, that it's sanctioned, it's welcomed, that they can take care of themselves. But I wanted to give an opportunity because our team, we have quite a few people that are representing, and I wanted to ask them, why do you facilitate?
Hi, Linda. Been with the program since 2019, I think. Yeah. So I facilitate a session called Stretch and Refresh, and I taught yoga for many, many, many years. And when this opportunity came up, Vivian and our other co-director reached out. I knew Sanjay from other projects with mental wellness, as well as the Inclusion and Diversity Project. So anyway, I was excited because I was like, how can I do yoga at work? I had opportunities when I was in medical center to do some sorts of things like that, but then I went on the health plan side is a little different, and we're completely remote. And so all of this is completely remote. So all of our sessions are remote. So it's fulfilling part of my job, even though it was on top of everything else, as Vivian said.
Anybody else feels?
I'm Kristen, and I work actually, a lot of us are not on the same coast. So many of us are in California. We have some in Georgia. I'm in Mid-Atlantic. And so I had come to Mindful Hub, to the Mindful Leader Conference, and loved kind of the diversity of people. And I was inspired through Mindful Leader. So I went back to work and I was like, how can I find this at work? And lo and behold was Mindful Hub. And I had been there a few years, hadn't actually known that it was available. So I started kind of connecting with all of my folks within Mindful Hub, who are all kind of like-minded folks, even though we're from different, perspectives. But it has just been a wonderful extension of my own practice, my own journey. I'm a behavioral health manager. And so obviously during COVID, it's been really difficult. I see lots of staff coming through our mental health programs. And so this is a way for me to give back to them. And to, my goal is to bring more mindfulness to the Mid-Atlantic states and to help our frontline staff. So it's been a joy. So I appreciate Vivian and her efforts. Thank you, Kristen.
So learning from our lesson, these were the things that as I step back, what would be most helpful? If you are starting a program or you already have a program, to help refine it. The first thing is to have a central clearinghouse for information. Where can people go to learn about what you're offering, what's going on across? If you're in a large organization, it's super helpful to find out what's happening across all of the states in the region. This next one, using one meeting invite. So we started off, we were thinking, okay, we're just going to, each offering will have its own meeting invite. But what we realized happens if we can stick to one meeting invite for every session and just separate them by a nice buffer of time of 15, 20 minutes, it allows for us to build on the momentum of people showing up, so they can easily share the link from one person. Like, I'm going to this session. Well, how do I get? Oh, here's the link. And it just builds and builds. As well, at least with MS Teams, there's a continuous chat that's happening for that. So at the end of every session, people start thinking and showing gratitude for the session. And what I learned from some of the participants, and I see it too, as long as you don't mute the chat, you actually start seeing. So even if you're not in the session, you start seeing all this gratitude scrolling, and it actually allows you to pause. So even though you weren't in the session, you get the side benefit of the practice. I want to encourage lots of experimentation. And by experimentation, I mean, obviously different modalities and offerings, but also time of day, duration. We have sessions. The journaling session is 15 minutes. So she gives the prompts. She will settle. They do some grounding exercise, and they start working with the prompts, and they move on into their day, but it really gives them something to think about and reflect on over the course of the day. Oh, yeah. Survey your participants. We didn't start doing this for a year and a half into the program, but this allows you to find out what's working, what's not working, to get the feedback so that you can even track your growth. So that is very, very important to do it up front and track the session participation. We have our facilitators do that part after every session. It's a very short form that we've set online of, what kind of session was this, its duration, and the number of participants. And for the volunteers themselves, again, provide participation options based on their interest, skill, and availability. Somebody might be very, very interested in offering a mindfulness session, but their schedule just doesn't allow for it. So we have a lot of options that we give them. Hey, do you want to be a substitute? You can keep tracking who needs a substitute, so you get a feel for it. Or for the tailored sessions, let's partner you up with someone so that you can go and learn how these tailored sessions go. And we encourage everyone to talk to their manager. Add it as a service goal so that you do get some recognition within your performance that you're providing this service. You can promote it within our community and, meet that requirement for your certification program.